That's my baby.
I'm dying.
That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored.
They did it.
Left. Beat left.
What the hell was that?
Oh, yeah. What the fuck are you talking about?
Good evening, everyone. The Sports Hounds are live exclusively on a2dradio.com. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman. This is the Sports Hounds. Each and every week, the Sports Hounds are brought to you by Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy. He's our doc. Make him yours, too. 3 convenient locations, Burlington, Cherry Hill. Like I said, he's our doc here at A2D. Make him yours, too. Also brought to you by the Gutter guys at Ambuck Services. They are the gutter and deck experts of South Jersey. Give them a call at 856-879-5530. Tell them A2D Radio sent you. Get the friends and family discount. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, Instagram. Stream us. Download us podcast, Forum, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, iTunes. The takeover is real. A2D Radio is everywhere, branching out. Exciting stuff happening as we move it into 2021. The cream, the NFL regular season is over. The cream has risen to the top. We are upon us a unprecedented Super Wild Card weekend. 3 games Saturday, 3 games Sunday. I couldn't be more excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. Full preview tonight. We got the AFC we're going to start with and the NFC. We'll start with our poll question, Brad. Our poll question brought to you by Philly Drinkers. Philly Drinkers LLC. Get all your A2D Radio merchandise needs at Philly Drinkers LLC. Click on the A2D Radio collection. I got my face mask on right here. Fresh out of work. Everything, golf shirts, sweatshirts, polos, coffee cup, sunglasses, anything you need, phillydrinkers.com. Support the takeover. So, Brad, our poll question, the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, quiet weekend, hard to forget about them with all the chaos that happened in Week 17. Chiefs took the week off. They lose to the Chargers. Doesn't mean anything. They're the number 1 seed. They're the defending Super Bowl champions. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, the embarrassment of riches there in San Diego. The Chiefs, Brad, are going to repeat as Super Bowl champions.
Hashtag disagree. I am going to go with the Buffalo Bills. And I want to make the argument for them. I think right now they are playing on such a high level. Josh Allen right now is playing on a ridiculously high level. Keep in mind, they put up 56 points against a desperate Dolphin team that, let's be honest, has a very good defense. And they put 56 points up against them. I mean, they mutilated the Pittsburgh Steelers a couple of weeks ago. I mean, there is nothing this team isn't doing. I mean, other than maybe the Baltimore Ravens, who I also think would be a major pain in the neck for the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think Kansas City's going to make it. I think it's going to be very, very tough for them because if form holds up and the teams we all expect to win, okay, it's going to be Kansas City against the Ravens, and then it's going to be Pittsburgh at Buffalo. So Buffalo is going to get to play the Colts, and then they're going to get to play the Steelers, while Kansas City is going to have to play the Ravens, and then they're going to have to play Buffalo. And basically, Kansas City is going to have to play 2 outstanding football teams that are definitely built to be able to exploit the weaknesses of the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs, as we know, are not a great defensive team. They're a terrific offensive team, but I think both, especially Buffalo, has enough. They have enough weapons offensively to keep up with the Chiefs, and I think Buffalo has a better defense. What do you think about that?
Well, Buffalo definitely has a better defense. Look, I'm astonished that we're talking about Josh Allen in the same realm of quarterbacks as Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. It's
He could be
unbelievable.
the MVP. I mean, that's how good he's been.
Well, Derrick Henry should be the MVP. We'll get to that when we get talk to about the AFC South and their matchup. Derrick Henry should 1,000% be the MVP of the league. All due respect to the quarterbacks in the league, and it's a quarterback award. I think we should break that mold. Derrick Henry, 1,000% should be the league's MVP.
Well,
What he did,
2,000 yards as a running back. I can't really argue with you about that. That's an
and I have a tweet from Dan Orlovsky that puts into perspective.
It's tough though it's tough to go against the quarterback though, Rob. You know,
Come on, they get all the glory, they get all the girls. Like, it's time for that bruiser running back Derrick Henry to get his love for MVP. 2,000 yards rushing, 19 touchdowns, 5.5 yards a carry. And he carried the Ryan Tannehill
yards yesterday.
Ryan Tannehill is not nearly the quarterback that he's been playing like without Derrick Henry. The Titans aren't anywhere without Derrick Henry.
No,
their defense stinks. I mean, it's all Derrick Henry all the time in Tennessee. He should be the MVP of the league, period. And Aaron Rodgers, he's going to win it. It's a quarterback award. Aaron Rodgers is going to win it. He had a tremendous year, and I can't argue that. But Derrick Henry should get love as the MVP. And then you look at another guy who took another step into an elite wide receiver. He gets out of Minnesota. He gets out of the shadows of Adam Thielen. Stefan Diggs, outside of Devontae Adams, absolutely no one was better at wide receiver than Stefan Diggs. No one.
Stefan Diggs was unbelievable this year, and who would have saw that coming? You know, I thought when Buffalo gave up a first-round pick for Stefan Diggs, I was like, wait a minute. You just gave up a first-round pick for basically a wide receiver too. I mean, that's way overpaying. But you know what? After watching what Diggs did this year, and even last week when people were wondering if he was even going to play because everybody thought he got hurt the week before, he came out, had a monster game. I mean, is there anything this guy Diggs can't do?
Nothing. And then I agree with you about the defense. The Bills' defense hits you right in the mouth. It's far better than the Kansas City defense. So the Kansas City's not as good as what they were last year when they won the Super Bowl. In my opinion, they're just not.
I
Clyde
agree.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I mean, he's too small. Le'Veon Bell, I mean, he's okay. But, I mean, that year off seems to take a real toll. He can't really return to the Pittsburgh form. You know, they have Mahomes, they have Reid. I fully expect.
Yeah, and they got Kelsey, and they've got a plethora of great receivers.
Am I crazy? Am I absolutely crazy for thinking that the Chiefs are the third best team in the AFC right now? Because what Baltimore is doing down the stretch here, Lamar Jackson's returned to his MVP form. I believe he cracked 1,000 yards rushing for the second straight year as a quarterback.
I don't know for sure, but after watching what they did to the Giants the week before and what they did to the Cowboys a few weeks ago, and basically what they're doing to everybody right now, I mean, the Ravens are on a roll. I think right now the two hot teams right now are the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. And that's what you're going to see. I think that's what you might see in the AFC finals. Definitely see that.
Yeah, because Pittsburgh, they're okay. I mean, they lose to the Browns. They rested all their guys. They're getting a rematch with the Browns Sunday night in the Sunday Night Football time slot. But I mean, Steelers, they can't run the ball. They're missing key guys on defense. Roethlisberger is old. I mean, they're one-dimensional. They struggle to block. They're a tier below what the Ravens, Bills, and Chiefs are right now. But I think the Chiefs are the third best team in the AFC right now. Now, Andy Reid, I will say, whoever does have to go to Kansas City in the divisional round is going to have a tall task because Andy Reid, with a week off, 2 weeks off for his superstars, and Andy Reid with that extra week to prepare, he's almost impossible to beat. It almost never happens. His record off the bye speaks for itself, and his record both here in Philadelphia as the Eagles coach and in Kansas City with a bye in the divisional round, it speaks for itself. He almost never loses. It's almost a stone cold lock that the Chiefs are going to the AFC Championship game. I don't know. And the Chiefs have the Ravens number, but I mean, I'm not betting against the Ravens right now. I'm not betting against the Bills right now. 56 points. Miami, a win and in scenario. Key players on Buffalo's defense out yesterday.
Buffalo had really nothing to play for.
Well, they now avoid Kansas City until the AFC title game.
Yeah, they do. But Kansas City now, actually, Kansas City has a tougher road to the championship game than Buffalo does. I realize Buffalo has to play an extra game, but Buffalo is gonna maul Indianapolis. And one of the fans had asked just before, does the Giant fan think that which would be me, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm not a Giants fan.
Right. So I guess that question is for me. Do I think the Buffalo Bills can get there? I think they can get to the Super Bowl. Absolutely. I think right now they're the best team in the AFC. Now they're going to have to prove it because they haven't proven anything in the playoffs. But Josh Allen this year is just playing on an unbelievable level. I mean, I could never believe what I'm watching when I see him play. I mean, he's not only, I mean, he's always been a good runner, but boy, oh boy, I mean, he's so accurate and he's got such a strong arm. And yes, Ted, I know Buffalo was playing for the second seed, but I don't think Pittsburgh was really trying to win yesterday. So, I think that is the case. Don't like Indianapolis at all in this game. And now I'm getting all the questions, Rob, from John Adcock. Big question. As a Giant fan, do you think the Birds would be punished in last night's tank? I don't
want to get in. I don't want to get into that. The Eagles did last night was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. And I get it.
Facebook, you guys all know what I think about what the Eagles did, and I do think they should be punished. But I really don't want to go into that right now because you know what? I've had a whole day to be annoyed about it, and I would rather just let it go. Because you know what? 6-10 is still 6-10. I mean, it would have been nice to win the division. Yeah, it would have been good for the young players to get that experience. But for the honor of getting embarrassed and slaughtered in the first round, let Washington go ahead and get slaughtered. I guess that's what's going to happen. So, but I'd rather talk about the Buffalo Bills right now. And I do think that if they continue to play the way they've been playing right now, I don't see anybody beating them, including the Ravens. As great as Jackson has been playing and as great as Dobbins has been playing, they are a little too one-dimensional for me right now. I think Buffalo's offense is better. I think that they can beat you with the pass. Josh Allen is equally adept at running and throwing. Not that I don't like Mahomes. I think the Chiefs are a great team too. But you know what? When a team wins a Super Bowl, how often do you see them go back 2 years in a row? It's really hard to do that. It's a lot of games. It's a lot of wear and tear. And I just don't know that they can do it 2 years in a row.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Buffalo puts up 56 on Miami at home yesterday. I mean, Buffalo, they weren't trying. They played who they played, and they played those guys until it was out of hand. But key players on defense were inactive. Miami was a win and in scenario. Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins just simply weren't up for the task. They weren't ready to go. And they had a good season, but they weren't ready to go there. Buffalo demolished them. Because I think Miami's a better team than Cleveland.
Yeah, I do too. I'm not all that.
I do. But, that's not how the chips fell.
If Cleveland, and I know you guys all hate Beckham, blah, 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 blah. But let's be honest. If Cleveland had Beckham, I think they'd have a real good chance to beat Pittsburgh. But without Beckham, they don't have that explosiveness on offense. Yeah, they've got a good running game, but you know what? Teams can stop those kind of running backs. I mean, I know they're good, but you know what? I think Baltimore's running game is better, just to be honest with you. It is, and I don't see Cleveland going into Pittsburgh and winning. It's going to be very tough for them to do that.
Now, the most puzzling division in the AFC was the AFC South. I couldn't figure out Indianapolis all season. I couldn't figure out Tennessee all season. Tennessee lets up 35 to Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans, a team that's they're just not very good. They have an interim coach. They don't have a first or second round pick. They're just a franchise in limbo. They're in a win and you win the division scenario, and their defense still can't show up. Indianapolis with Phillip Rivers doing Phillip Rivers things. They kind of struggled with Jacksonville, Brad. Majority of the game, they end up winning by 2 touchdowns because Jonathan Taylor just busts out 250-plus yards rushing. They get a 2-point conversion to win by 14 for you gamblers out there like me. Get the push with Jacksonville. But, I mean, Indianapolis' defense is –
the Buffalo Bills are a whole different story, especially at home. Buffalo is just – I mean, if you guys have actually watched them play this year, and I'm not talking about just the Pittsburgh game, some of the other games they played, I mean, they look like a machine. I'm watching them, and it's almost like watching the Saints in the Superdome. That's how good their offense is looking right now.
But the question is in the AFC is can either of these AFC South teams, the Colts going into Buffalo, sounds like you're off that train, and then the Titans, they're hosting the Ravens, they're underdogs. We all know what happened last year in the divisional round when Tennessee went to Baltimore. You got to think revenge is going to be on the mind of the Ravens. But, I mean –
two things, Rob. Two things that are a little different for the Ravens this year than they were last year. First of all, they got Dobbins, who they didn't have last year.
Yes, he's very good.
And their tight end has stepped up to be maybe not the best tight end in the league, but one definitely in the top 5 in the NFL. I can't remember his name, and I apologize for that. But
Mark Andrews.
Thank you. He
was good. He was good last year.
He's taken it to another level this year. And I just think that the way the Ravens are playing right now, it's going to be tough to beat them. I mean, they've done a lot better job. They've looked in the games that they've played, they've looked like they've done a much better job stopping the run. And I don't think Derrick Henry is going to have his way against them at all. And if the Ravens get ahead of the Titans early and the Titans have to abandon the running game, they're done.
Well, yeah, the key to the victory there is
Titans have to play with the lead.
They can't let Derrick Henry knock them out 2 years in a row, can they?
Well, I'll tell you what. if that does happen, then you got to start wondering about certain coaches in Baltimore, because that should not happen. I'm not talking about John Harbaugh. He's not going anywhere, but assistant coaches may end up biting the dust for that.
And then I think Lamar is much better. I mean, it's hard to say that because he won MVP last year, but I think Lamar is a better player than he was last year.
I think that all around he is, because you know what? I think this year, when he goes back to pass, he's not automatically looking to run the ball. He's not going through one read and running the ball. He's now going through all his reads, and if he has nowhere to go with the football to throw it, then he runs, and he's so fast. It's almost ridiculous to see how fast
Lamar Jackson has a first step that is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean he's as fast as the fastest wide receivers right now. I mean, it's like having Tyreek Hill as your quarterback. That's how fast.
I mean, we saw the raw speed and athleticism, and Vic was just a bigger guy. And Vic is probably a better athlete overall and probably faster. But, I mean, Lamar Jackson, I mean, when he drops back and you're in man coverage and he gets a little crease, he gets that first step and he's just gone.
Yeah, I don't know that Vic is necessarily as fast as Lamar. I think Vic is a little bit better passer than Lamar, to be honest with you. Vic, I thought, was a pretty good passer. I think that a lot of people gave him an unfair rap with what a good passer he was. He was a good passer. There's no doubt about that.
And then, you have Dobbins. I mean, Dobbins and Gus Edwards, they've made Mark Ingram he's obsolete down there in Baltimore. I mean, he's
Mark
the veteran guy. He's the big free agent. He's a non-factor in the backfield.
Yeah, he's going to be on another team next year. I mean, and to think of that, I mean, and Gus Edwards is just he's a load.
Kind of truck.
Yeah, he reminds me of Bettis. If you remember Jerome Bettis, he very much reminds me of that guy. He's very hard to tackle, and he can wear the defense down. Dobbins is just fast as hell, and then you got to worry about Lamar. And it's very hard to defend against all that. Plus, you got the great tight end, and the receivers aren't half bad either.
For the Ravens, I mean, yeah.
But
they're okay
right now. I mean, they've caught their breath and they're on a roll, and they're putting up 38 to 40 points a game now. They went, and when they beat the Browns, that second time they played the Browns, when they beat them,
yes,
they clearly sent a message to the rest of the league that we are back. Because now they're just rolling. And
can't argue with it.
Yeah, I can't see them making the same mistake this year that they did last year with Tennessee. I think they're going to be ready to go, and they're going to know what they have to do to beat this team. They won't be caught by surprise. There's not going to be any Cinderella story in Tennessee. Tennessee is not good. They're just not. I mean, to have to go to overtime to get a miracle bomb caught in the last seconds of that game, and then have the guy kick a field goal off the upright to win the game. I mean, against the last place team. I'm sorry, that's just
Yeah, and they stoinked the field goal in too. I thought the guy missed it, and it was going to go to overtime.
Yeah, I mean, I thought
they won 11 football games though.
Yeah, but I mean, their schedule, they had the easiest of all the schedules, though, out of all the teams, though. I mean, they really that division is not it's not bad like the NFC East bad, but I mean it's pretty weak.
Can't argue. Let's get to some comments here. Mike Parker's in the house. Bryce Blackwell's in the house. Yusef Khan is in the house. Good evening. Excited to hear Brad's thoughts on the hysterical game yesterday that won us the division. It was hysterical, all right. And we can get off on a little tangent, I guess, when we start talking about the NFC. We're talking about the AFC right now. Responding to the poll question, will the Chiefs repeat as Super Bowl champions? Mike Parker, I'll agree, but I really like the Bucs and how they're playing. I mean, I can't argue with that. Tom Brady's on fire. Tom Brady is on fire. You remember they're really the only team that has stifled Aaron Rodgers throughout. I remember Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, they went down to Tampa around midseason. Tampa Bay won 38-10, if my memory serves correct. 10 points for Aaron Rodgers. That defense is for real. Brady's on fire. We'll have to monitor the Mike Evans situation, but Antonio Brown is there. He's looking like Pittsburgh Antonio Brown. Chris Godwin, he looks like he's finally finding his niche with Tom Brady. Ronald Jones. Gronk.
I mean that team's loaded. They're loaded, and right now everybody is back in sync in Tampa Bay, and their offense, which seemed to have stalled a little bit, and they had that little spot in the middle of the season where they didn't play well. They seem to have gotten it together.
Yusef Khan, he disagrees. I think they lose to Green Bay in the Super Bowl. So Yusef, he's got the Green Bay Packers winning the Super Bowl over the Kansas City Chiefs. John Oddock, he's got the Bills taking out the Chiefs as well. Greg Milakovic, A2D Radio's own Greg Milakovic. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills will beat the Chiefs. 2 words, playoff Brady. I have the Bucs as a dark horse. That's from A2D Radio. I mean, it's not a bad dark horse. They're going to spank the shit out of the Washington football team on Saturday night.
Yeah, they're gonna crush them.
And we'll preview that game. We'll go through the NFC. It was wild. It was a wild Week 17.
It sure was. A lot of good games yesterday.
John Attic, I think it ends like it did for the Ravens last year. So sounds like he thinks the Titans are going to beat the Ravens again.
Well, I mean, they could. It's not to say that can't be done. I'm just basing it on what I've seen during the season, and I was very not impressed with the way the Titans played the last few games. I mean, Green Bay just murdered them. They looked terrible in that game.
I was looking for them to step up in that game.
I mean, yeah. I mean, show the country what you got. The Cleveland Browns
at least show up.
The Cleveland Browns got ahead of them 38-3, and it went to sleep and then almost blew the game. But they got beat up by the Cleveland Browns. I mean, I'm sorry, Tennessee has not done enough to make me think that they're going to beat the Ravens right now the way the Ravens have been playing.
Steelers fan 1 checking in on YouTube. He disagrees. He's hoping his Steelers beat them or the Bills. Plus the Packers, I think, are very good too. Dalen Ladson, he likes the Colts. Colts Indy all day, baby. I just can't trust Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is the most unclutch good quarterback I've ever seen ever.
Yeah, really.
Maybe even worse than Donovan McNabb.
When has he ever? Well, at least Donovan McNabb's gotten to championships. I mean, how many?
I hear you.
How many playoff games has Phillip Rivers won?
He wins a few here and there. I remember he beat Peyton Manning one year, and then they gave. Actually, in the year your Giants beat the Patriots on their undefeated season, Phillip Rivers and the Chargers, they gave the Patriots quite a run in that AFC Championship game. They fell short, but.
Yeah, the Chargers defense lost that game for them.
That was the year I believe he played in the playoffs on a torn ACL.
Yeah, it was. It was. I mean, it's gonna be tough. And you know what? If the worse the weather, the better the Bills seem to play. It just doesn't matter for them. You know, Allen just has such a strong arm that it doesn't matter what the weather's like. He can throw through a snowstorm. If the weather's bad or if it's windy, it doesn't really affect him because he's got such a great arm, and he can run the ball.
I hear you.
I mean,
Buffalo's getting a lot of love in the chat. Ted checking in on, I don't even know what that is. Cleveland defense is still really good. Look, I think the party's over for Cleveland, and that's good for them that they were able to win yesterday. It's their first playoff game since 2002. Good for them, but I just don't see the Steelers losing at home to Baker Mayfield. There's still enough there on defense. There's still enough there with Big Ben and those receivers. Granted, they can't run the ball, so I don't see the Steelers doing much past their victory over the Cleveland Browns. But I think the Tampa is going to smack up Washington, and the Steelers are going to smack up Cleveland. I mean, yeah, Brett, every time Cleveland stepped up to play a big game, they lost.
Yeah, Cleveland has really not beaten. The only over 500 team I think that they beat all year was Tennessee, right? Or am I wrong about that?
It sounds right.
Because they lost.
I mean, they lost to the Raiders at home. They lost to the Jets. They lost. They're just. Ooh.
Yeah, no, I agree. Although the Jet game, they had no receivers, but still, that was an inexcusable.
I mean, look, you could, but if they beat the Jets, they could have rested their starters in week 17. If I understand the scenario correctly.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if Odell Beckham was able to play for the Browns, I think they have a reasonable shot to beat Pittsburgh. But without him, I just don't see it. I don't see that. That's asking a lot. First time in the playoffs for a lot of these guys. Pittsburgh is playoff tested. They've been there year after year. I don't know if Cleveland's ready to make that move yet. I mean, I think they're still making the innocent climb, and I don't think this is it for them yet. Unlike a team like Buffalo, who's had the innocent climb, and a team like the Ravens, who've had the innocent climb, Okay, it's time for these two teams to step up. I think you're going to have a Buffalo Raven AFC Championship game, and I think the Chiefs.
So you don't even think the Chiefs are going to win a playoff game?
No, I think they're going to lose. I have a funny feeling. I have this funny feeling.
That's only happened one time, Brad. One time has the number 1 seed lost their first playoff game in either conference, and it was actually your New York Football Giants beat Tony Romo and the Dallas Cowboys on the way to their 2007 championship, I believe it was.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. But it can happen. Listen, and what was the?
I don't know if I can get on board with that. Mahomes winning no playoff games.
Listen, Rob. The thing is, okay, they won this. They won the Super Bowl. I realize that, but you know what? I can't stop thinking of the fact that I think that the Ravens are a real hungry football team, and I don't know that Kansas City is going to be as hungry to win. They finally got their championship last year, and it's hard to win 2 Super Bowls in a row.
The Ravens, they hit you in the mouth on defense. You might have something there. I can't wrap my head around it right now.
We're not talking about them playing the. I mean, listen, if they played the Titans in the first round, okay, or the Colts in their first game, or they had an easy game like that, yeah, I could see that happening. But I mean, the Ravens are not your normal wild card team. They are that. I mean, both in the AFC and NFC, the number 1 wild card teams are just dynamite football teams. I mean, the Tampa Bay Bucks in the NFC and the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC. I mean, these are teams that would have won almost any other division. They would have won the Central. They did lose. I mean, I know that they lost 2 games to the Steelers, but remember, the one game they had, Griffin, I think, was quarterback in the one game.
Yeah, he had to play against
Pittsburgh because
against the Steelers. Everyone had COVID.
Yeah, because they all had COVID. I mean,
ever since they all got healthy from COVID, the Ravens have been playing with their hair on fire.
Yeah, and I just don't see them losing to Kansas City. I think the Ravens are a very, very dangerous team. And right now, they can out-physical. The only way you're going to beat that team is if you just out-physical them. And we're talking about the Chiefs. And I think the Ravens are the kind of team that can do that.
Hold on, Ted P. Green Bay lost to the Giants. Frank, thank you, Frank. Green Bay lost to Giants in Green Bay when they were the top seed. Giants got knocked out by the Eagles in 2008 playoffs. You're really off, dude. First off, learn how to spell dude. If you're going to come on the Sports Hounds, don't spell things like a jabroni. I'm not off. I was referring to the number 1 seed in either conference in their divisional playoff game. The number 1 seed
after they won
each conference. No. The number 1 seed has never, unless the Ravens were the number 1 seed, and that would be twice. Were the Ravens the number 1 seed last year?
I believe
when they lost to the Titans.
I believe they were.
So that's the second time it happened. It's happened 2 times.
No, New England.
The Giants.
Wasn't New England the top seed last year?
No, because New England had to play in the wild card weekend. I believe they were the 3 seed.
Oh, okay, you're right.
Because the Titans. So, like, I mean, I'm not really off. It's only happened twice. It happened in 2007. Number 1 seeded Dallas lost to the Giants, their first game in the division round. And last year it happened in the AFC. So it's happened 1 time in each conference. The Giants beating Green Bay in 2007, that was the NFC Championship game, not the division round. And then the Eagles Packers, I don't even know what you're talking about.
He might be talking if he's talking about the 2012 season when the year the Packers went 15-1. I think the Giants. I think that might have been the case with that too, because the Packers.
That was Favre. That was 2007. They didn't play the Packers until the NFC Championship game.
No. I'm talking about 2012. Because in 2012,
who the Giants beat in the NFC Championship game in 2000? No, they beat the Niners they beat Alex Smith.
Right. They beat Alex Smith in the championship game. They beat Green Bay the week before that.
And that was Favre, right?
No, that was Rodgers.
2000. Yeah, it would be Rodgers.
Yeah, that was Rodgers.
That's a championship game. That's not a division. I'm talking about the division game. The record for the number 1 seed in their first playoff game, it's astronomical in the favor of
it's probably
the number 1 seed.
Probably about not. It's probably
It's only happened once in each conference. I'm dead certain of it.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. I mean, it's very hard to do. But you know what? Again, I just think that as good as Kansas City's been, most of the games have been pretty close. You know, it's not like they've been blowing out teams. To me, they don't have that air of invincibility that they seemed to have last year going into the playoffs. I mean, they really did look like they had that air of invincibility last year. You know, I mean, even when it was when they were losing 24-0 to the Titans last year in the championship game, it's almost like you were saying to yourself, you know what? They can come back and score enough points and still win this game, and they did. I mean, that's what makes them so tough to beat. And you know, can Buffalo beat a team like that? Yeah, I think they can. Can the Ravens beat them? Yeah, I do think the Ravens can beat them. I think the Buffalo and the Ravens are right now the red hot teams. You know, I know Kansas City, you know, was basically 14-1 and took off yesterday and didn't really show up, and I get that. And 14-1 is 14-1, but you know what? I just the way Buffalo and the Ravens have been just blasting everybody out of the building. Kansas City hasn't done that. You know, every game seems to be close with them.
Kansas City's rarely covered spreads this year.
No, every game's been a cliffhanger with them. So
I mean, Young Ho Koo, he missed a chip shot field goal, one of the best kickers in the league this season. They might have lost to the Falcons.
That's right. I forgot about that game too. I mean, again, it's not easy to be the Super Bowl champions.
Thomas Talbert, he has the Bills versus the Packers in the Super Bowl. That'd be a fun one. Bob Brinkman, just don't see anyone beating the Packers the way Rodgers is playing, plus home field throughout the NFC. Bryce Blackfeld, Tennessee has no pass rush. That's their problem. That's a big problem, especially against a team like the Ravens with a quarterback like Lamar Jackson. That might be that's a good comment there by Bryce because
he hit
because like Brad, I'm looking at these games and I'm not really seeing any underdogs that I like to step up and win. So like I'm looking at the Titans because they're a lot. They can score and they're at home. So like maybe they can put together offense, but that comment by Bryce that has me really second guessing that. I mean that you got to have a pass rush against Lamar Jackson. No.
Oh yeah, you've got to be able to put a lot of pressure on him. That's the key to slowing him down. So if you put a lot of pressure on him and you make him and you can keep him in the pocket and make him pass, you know, he's not as efficient as a passer as he is as a runner. But I think really, I mean, yesterday, what did they run for 400 yards yesterday? I know it was against the Bengals, and I get that. But you know what? They ran the Giants off the field too.
I mean, they put up gaudy rushing numbers. I mean, when you get Lamar gets 100, or let's say Lamar gets 75, 80, and then you get Edwards gets his 80, and then I think Dobbins he had a $150.
Yeah, it was ridiculous what that team does. I mean, I cannot. Yeah, the last team that I can remember that had a 3-pronged running attack like this. Actually, I can't remember any team having a comment. Well, the Miami Dolphins when they used to have Zonka, Kick, and Morris.
I mean,
or like back in the 70s. But I mean, that's really the closest thing I can remember.
Before my time. I mean, the Falcons, the team that lost to the Eagles in 2004 in the NFC Championship game, they had T.J. Duckett done at running back, and then they had Vic doing his thing at quarterback. Yeah, but that was very.
But 3 guys running the ball like that, like the way they're running it.
What 3? Are you talking about Lamar as one of the 3?
Between your quarterback and your 2 running backs, Lamar running the ball, Gus Edwards running the ball, and Dobbins running the ball. I mean, it's really hard to defend that. It really is because I mean, you got to key on all three. All three of those guys get the ball, and I mean, if Edwards gets the ball, he may not be the fastest out of all of them, but he's extremely hard to tackle.
Soft limp John. Buffalo going to shock some people this year. I think Josh Allen's pretty good. Yeah, Josh Allen's really good.
They're not gonna shock anybody. Everybody, nobody's gonna be shocked around here. I don't think in the A to D room anybody's gonna be shocked if Buffalo wins against everybody. The Buffalo Bills are an extremely good team. Real
Ted P. Buffalo's defense going to smother the Chiefs. I don't know if anyone can smother the Chiefs, but they certainly have the assets to slow them down.
Yeah, Buffalo can outscore them, and Buffalo can make a big stop when they need to. I don't know that the Chiefs are going to be able to stop Buffalo when they have to. That remains to be seen.
Don 19's in the house, a resident Lions fan. Hey, I was watching Red Zone yesterday, Don, and I gotta tell you, man, the Lions, they got jobbed on a couple of calls down the stretch. There was a roughing the passer call against the Lions that was just awful. And then Marvin Jones catches what I thought was his third touchdown of the day, a clear catch, in my opinion, and they just call it not a catch for whatever reason because it moved a little bit. I feel your pain, man. I see you yesterday. I know your game was meaningless, but it would have been nice to end the season on a note for you guys because the Pistons aren't doing much, and I don't think the Detroit Red Wings are going to do much, Brad. So I always like the Lions. I've always liked Matthew Stafford.
The Tigers are still looking pretty.
Yeah, they're looking glum. That Cleveland team is really stacked. I don't know what you're looking at. I mean, they have a nice running duo, but I don't trust Baker Mayfield as far as I can throw him. And their defense is pretty good, but I mean, it's nothing special.
They've got an outstanding running game. I'll give you that. But once you get to the playoffs, you can't really be one dimensional. You got to be 2-dimensional. And I don't know that they're 2-dimensional enough to be a factor. I just don't.
19 Giants beat Falcons. Wow. Okay, we touched that. Joseph Herkovsky, he thinks it'll be the Bills and the Bucs in Super Bowl 55. That's interesting.
That could happen. Although it's going to be tough for the Bucs because they're going to have to win on the road at New Orleans, and they're going to have to, which they have really had their problems with, and they're probably going to have to win again in Green Bay. I know they slaughtered Green Bay when they played them, but the game was in Tampa Bay. This time it's going to be in Lambeau Field, and weather could definitely be a factor. Although weather doesn't seem to bother Brady too much, but nonetheless, you're still looking at having to win in Lambeau Field. That's going to be a tough road for the Bucs. Not saying they can't do it. They are really playing great football right now. But it's going to be that's a steep hill for them.
Steelers fan 1. My picks are the Steelers, Bills, Titans in the AFC, Saints, Buccaneers, and Seahawks in the NFC.
That sounds like a Steeler fan.
A month ago, I said Bills in Super Bowl on the show. Brett said, I don't think the Bills are there. Haven't seen much from them. Let's not act like y'all saw this coming, fellas. Yeah, but I mean, sports is a fluid situation, Joe. It's a fluid situation. They've taken off. They've proven everybody wrong.
You have been listening to me because I've been on the Bills pretty much all season. Okay, they had the one bad game in Tennessee when they got their doors blown off when Josh Allen had a horrible game. But other than that, if I remember correctly, the weather was horrible that night, and he had a bad game, and he committed a lot of turnovers. But I think the Bills were like 5-0 at that point, and then they lost the game.
It brings us up to speed on comments. Keep them firing, man. We're reading them. We're talking NFL playoff preview. The poll question: Kansas City Chiefs will repeat as Super Bowl champions. I don't even think I've answered the poll question yet. I don't have the Chiefs repeating.
Yeah, the odds are.
I think the Packers are going to win. And the Packers proved me wrong. I thought they were gonna fizzle out when it got to be winning time because, I don't think that their defense. I didn't think their defense was a championship defense, but it really doesn't matter in 2020 if you have a championship defense when you have Aaron Rodgers. The Packers are probably going to win the Super Bowl.
When you're ahead 20-0 every week, okay, and the defense can just pin their ears back and rush the passer and not worry about the running game, it's going to make them a lot better, Rob. I'll tell you what, I know the Bears don't have a great offense. I understand that, but they did a hell of a job shutting the Bears down yesterday. And
I suppose the Saints could beat the Packers. But, you get the Saints out of that Superdome up in Lambeau, I don't think that's going to go well. I don't think Seattle is – I don't understand Seattle at all. Seattle peaked in November. I'm not even sure they beat the Rams.
I'm not sure about that either. And, you got to tell me if Jamal Adams is playing against the Rams before I
was reading before the show. It doesn't sound great.
Yeah, if Jamal Adams isn't playing against the Rams, then I love the Rams to win that game outright. That would be my upset special because even if Jamal Adams doesn't play, I think Seattle will still be favored. So
one of these dogs has to win, right?
Yeah,
it's not going to be six favorites are going to win.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Rams. The Rams defense. The Rams. So one thing the Rams, I know they've been inconsistent this year, but the one thing the Rams have done all year is play real good defense.
Hey, you look at the AFC. I could see Tampa spoiling the party. Maybe, but they've already gotten slaughtered by the Saints twice. So if they run into the Saints, how can I pick the Bucs to beat the Saints? And the AFC, I think you might. I don't think it's going to be the Chiefs. I said at the top of the show. I think the Chiefs are the third best team in the AFC right now. I think Baltimore's better and Buffalo's better.
I think the Chiefs, it's just going to be too hard for them. They're going to have to go through Buffalo, and they're going to have to go through the Ravens. Now all bets are off if the Titans win because, but again, the Titans will punish the Chiefs. They'll soften them up. I just don't think the Chiefs. There's no way that I could see Indianapolis going into Buffalo, an indoor team going into Buffalo, New York, and winning in Buffalo.
Phillip Rivers. No, I'm not buying that at all.
This Buffalo Bills team is a different team than they've been the last 3 years. Yes, they've been a good team the last 3 years. They've made the playoffs, but they've kind of been the darlings. They made the playoffs. Yay, we finally made the playoffs. Last year they blow the 19-3 lead against the Texans. That was an unfortunate loss for them. But you know what? This year it's different. First of all, they got home field until the finals. And as I said, Josh Allen right now is playing at an MVP level. I don't know that they're going to give him the MVP, but he's one of the top three candidates, I would think for sure.
Aaron Rodgers is going to win MVP because it's a quarterback award. And with all due respect to Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers had a better year than Josh Allen. The MVP should be Derrick Henry.
Well, as I said, he's in the discussion. He's in the top.
Listen to this tweet from Dan Orlovsky. Tweeted sent to me via text messages by a buddy of mine just before the show. Hold on, let me see if I can find. Here it is, right here. Most rushing yards this season: Derrick Henry 2,027, Dalvin Cook 1,557, Jonathan Taylor 1,169, Aaron Jones 1,104. Derrick Henry after halftime. So this is second half rushing yards over 16 weeks, 16 games, 17 weeks, 16 games. 1,076 yards. That means if Derrick Henry had not taken a single carry in the first half the entire season, he would have finished fourth in the NFL in rushing. He rushed for 1,076 yards in just the second half of football games.
All right,
are you kidding me? What is this, Xbox?
So he basically ran for in 8 games. In 8 games, if you want to count quarters, okay, he ran for 1,000 yards in 8 games. How ridiculous is that?
And that's good for the fourth most in the league. That's more than that'd be fourth most in the league. just below Aaron Jones, who's a pretty good player. It's unbelievable. He should be the MVP. 5.5 yards a carry, 19 touchdowns. Give the running back some love. Come on. I don't know who votes for this. The Associated Press, I guess. Come on. Give Derrick Henry the MVP. Are you kidding me? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, he won't get it, though. You know that.
No, it's a quarter. Maybe he'll get Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe they'll give him that.
He deserves something because, 2,000 yards. That's a pretty exclusive club. You got OJ and Dickerson in there. Who else?
Jamal Lewis has done it. There's 8 guys. He was the 8th guy to do it. Chris Johnson did it. The Juice did it. Jim Brown, I think, might have done it. I think Barry Sanders did it.
Jim Brown played. They only played 12 games, so
Barry Sanders did it.
Yeah, I think he did.
Jamal Lewis did it. Dickerson has the all-time record. Terrell Davis did it.
Did he?
Yeah, he did it the 198. I think he did it.
The second year they won the Super Bowl.
He did it the same way Derrick Henry did. He got like 250 yards on the last game.
Okay.
To put him over.
Yeah, but I'm not going to blame him for that.
I was a big Terrell Davis fan growing up. The late 90s, it was the awful time being an Eagles fan, and I kind of gravitated to those John Elway, Terrell Davis Bronco teams. I liked when they won. I think Jamal Anderson might have done it. He had a couple of great seasons for the Atlanta Falcons.
The guy in the Falcons?
I'm interested now.
I don't know if he got 2,000 though. Maybe he did. I mean, he could have. I don't remember that, but maybe. Maybe. Tiki Barber, I think, one year ran for 1,800, but he never even got it.
Did it. Chris Johnson did it. Terrell Davis did it. Eric Dickerson did it. Barry Sanders did it. Jamal Lewis did it. And now Derrick Henry's done it. So he's the 7th.
Yeah, and the Juice.
I thought he was the 8th. Hold on, let me look at another. 1973, O.J. Simpson rushed for 2,003 yards. He was the first. Eric Dickerson, 2105 in 1984. That's still the record. 1997, Barry Sanders did it. 1998, I was right, Terrell Davis did it. Just got over the mark. Yep. 2003, Jamal Lewis did it. 2009, Chris Johnson did it. Adrian Peterson did it in 2012 as well.
Okay, so he's the one we forgot about.
And then Derrick Henry did it 2020.
That's quite a distinguished list of runners, though.
Priest Holmes came close, but Larry Johnson came close the one year, but he did not do it. Chrome's in the house. He agrees to the poll. He thinks the Chiefs are going to repeat. I'm pounding this drum that the Chiefs are the 3rd best team in the AFC, but that means like the Chiefs aren't going to win a playoff game. I don't know. I think I got to reevaluate my decisions before early leans, and we're going to talk about the NFC here. We'll talk about the NFC East. The saga finally came to an end about midnight last night. The Washington football team defeats the sorry, pathetic, the loser franchise that is the Philadelphia Eagles. Kind of embarrassing, honestly. I mean, I get the inactives. I get that you want the 6th pick as opposed to the 9th pick. I know you have nothing to play for. I know you don't want to get anybody seriously injured going into next year. But where I had a problem with what the Eagles did last night was when they pulled Jalen Hurts for Nate Sudfeld.
That's where I had the problem. I understand the inactives, okay? You want to look at some players. But don't give me this crap that you pulled Jalen Hurts because you wanted to see what.
Guess what? Let me tell you something. Nate Sudfeld's got nothing. He's been in the league forever. He's a backup in Washington. He's been a backup 3rd stringer here in Philadelphia. I mean, he ain't got nothing.
Are you kidding me? What I would say is this: if the Eagles were trying to make the playoffs, okay, and another team was playing, and they took out their starting and they were playing for pride, and they took out their starting quarterback to begin the fourth quarter, where they're only down by 3 points, I think they would have a little bit of a problem with
Now,
that.
if the Philadelphia Eagles went, you know what? We're not putting Jalen Hurts out there in a meaningful game. We're going to try and trade Carson, restructure the contract, salvage him in Philadelphia for next year. We're starting Nate Sudfeld on Sunday night from jump. Then I'm fine. Okay,
That's a little different, but I think
I don't like that. But I mean, to bench Jalen Hurts in that spot for Nate Sudfeld, and then I had a big problem with that. I mean, I don't like that. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing for the
what about going for it on 4th and goal and then trying to have Hurts run a naked bootleg? I mean, are you kidding me? You tie up the game. I mean, come on, you tie up the game in that.
I mean, this is what Doug does. This is what Doug's done for his whole tenure. He does stupid shit like this, Brad. I mean, that's what he does. I can't.
Yeah,
I understand. You kick the ball at 17-17.
No coach in the NFL would do that.
This is Doug Peterson is what I'm trying to tell you. His critical thinking is awful.
Every coach in the NFL would have tied the game right there.
Brad, look at the first drive. It's 4th and 2, 4th and 1 from midfield, and Doug Peterson punted the football. And he hasn't done that in his whole tenure.
I mean, listen, to blatantly tank in a game like that. I mean, what's the worst part is, I don't know if you saw the headline in the Washington Herald this morning.
I did not, no.
It said, "Tank you." TANKYOU.
Yeah, I mean, that's clever. And look, it's hard for me to stick up for the Giants because the Giants went 6-10.
No,
and the Cowboys went 5.
6-10 does not warrant a playoff spot, okay? But at the same point, show a little pride. Okay?
Why don't you let Jalen Hurts, like, it looks like Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, it looks like he was put in the middle of this whatever conflicts going on between Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson, and he was forced to choose between his head coach and his franchise quarterback, supposed franchise quarterback. And Mr. Lurie, the owner of the football team, seems to have elected to bring Doug Peterson back next year, making it highly unlikely that Carson Wentz is back in Philadelphia. So there's a strong possibility, Brad, that Jalen Hurts is going to be week 1 starter here in Philadelphia. So you're telling me that you're pulling him out of a game where they can play spoiler against the Washington football team because he's having – look, Jalen Hurts, he can't throw the ball. He can't throw the ball consistently in this league. He had 72 yards passing at the time of his benching. But for you to tell me that you're playing to win – and Nate Sudfeld gives you a better chance to win that football game last night than Jalen Hurts does, sorry, that's where I draw the line. That's completely unacceptable by the Philadelphia Eagles. And if you leave Jalen Hurts in, you're going to lose the game anyway. Chase Young's probably going to make a play.
But you know what? If you leave Hurts in the game, you don't hear one word from anybody in the league, from any of the fans around the NFL or the Giant fans or NFL players. Because you know what? It's not just – I know mostly all you're hearing are Giant fans screaming bloody murder. But you know what? I read a few articles today. And the whole league is angry with the Eagles and angry with Doug Peterson for what he pulled last night.
But do you agree with the only aspect that they're angry about is that they benched Jalen Hurts?
Exactly. That was what everybody's. Now the Giants were mad about the field goal, and
I mean, look at Doug Peterson's track record, Brad.
Well,
we talk about it all the time. He's just not.
Yeah, he's an idiot, and I get that. But you know what? At least make it appear that you're trying. And you know what? They could be subject to some kind of penalty from the league. And to be honest with you, I really think that if teams like the Eagles are going to start pulling this crap, that they need to go back to doing a lottery. That's just, it's not that you can't let teams do shit like that.
But I mean, you're jumping through all these hoops, Brad, for 3 spots. when you can't even draft to begin with? I mean, Justin Jefferson broke Randy Moss's rookie receiving record yesterday for the Minnesota Vikings.
Should the Giants have lost to the Cowboys so they could get the 10th pick instead of the 11th? I mean, come on. You know what?
6 versus 9, 10 versus 11. Like, I'm not.
At that, you know what? 6 versus 9 is not that big of a deal. Now, if you're telling me 6 to 1 or 9,
all these Eagles fans, they're so wrapped up in picking 6th over 9th. Your team can't draft. Howie Roseman sucks.
And
Howie
even
Roseman stinks. You can't evaluate talent.
You want to get your great wide receiver. Let me tell you something. With that offensive line, you draft a wide receiver, congratulations. You're going to end up being the Detroit Lions because that's what the Lions always do. They're always drafting these receivers and running backs and they never go out and draft themselves a real good offensive line or a real good defensive line. And that's why they never make the playoffs. You know, the Eagles won the Super Bowl by building their line, by having the best offensive line in the league and the best defensive line in the league. Right now, they don't have either, and their offensive line is just,
I'm actually looking forward to their offensive line next year. I mean, you're going to get, some of the guys that were in last night, obviously right tackle, Brad Toth or whatever his name was, that guy, he's a non-factor. You have Lane Johnson back. Hopefully you have Brandon Brooks back. Hopefully you have Jason Kelsey. He doesn't retire. Herbig, he emerged as a solid starter. Then you have either Dillard or Mailata at left tackle. Yeah,
but all these guys are coming back off of injury. Who's to say that they're going to...
I get that. But, of all the problems the Eagles have, I think offensive line can go a little bit on the back burner.
Well, you could. But your quarterback, you don't really know about your quarterback yet. And anybody who can...
So what? We going to take Justin Fields at 6?
I don't know, Rob. Don't know. I'm just saying to you, it's if you're drafting for the Eagles right now, it's hard to figure out what you really want to do. I think
I watched the college football playoff, Brad, and who I wanted the 6th pick in the draft is Patrick Surtain Jr. He's the son of Patrick Surtain, who played very high-level quarterback for the Miami Dolphins as well as the Kansas City Chiefs. Very good player. This guy's 6'2". He's 220. You put him and Slay out there, and maybe you got something. I don't know. I'm sick of missing on wide receivers.
Your defense right now is really bad.
The defense is hard, is putrid, and they're going to get a new defensive coordinator. Jim Schwartz is not coming back. He's contemplating retirement. I can't stand.
I think right now, if you're going to have Dougie there, and you're going to have Howie there, your team is, and you're still $20 million over the cap. I don't trust those.
They did restructure. They restructured some things with Malik Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey today to give them a better situation. I don't know. I didn't see final numbers, how much
I don't know.
Cap stress that alleviates, but they have a lot to alleviate. The Eagles are in trouble, man. They're in trouble because the chickens have come home to roost with Howie Roseman restructuring these comments. Now everybody's old and you haven't drafted well. So basically, you're 4th by a mile in this division.
The roster has aged out, and you haven't.
Well, Brad, just put that in perspective. The only team that didn't have a chance to go to the playoffs in Week 17 in this shit division that is the NFC East was the Philadelphia Eagles. And prospectively, looking at next year,
and they earned it. And you know what? I said it after the Bengal game. I said, remember, you remember, I said to you, you guys are in trouble if you can't beat the Bengals. You guys got problems, and you kept expecting all season that they would break out and start playing, but it just never happened, and it just seemed to get worse. I mean, you had that one great game against New Orleans where they looked like they played a perfect first half, and they got that big lead, and they were able to hang on and win that game. And we all thought, uh-oh, here they come. But you know what? I mean, they couldn't maintain it.
And they beat the Saints, and I got excited because Hurts sparked the team, and you're right there. All these teams stink.
Exactly. You only needed 7 wins to make the playoffs. I mean, it's not like you had to crush everybody. You only needed
Yeah,
7 wins. It took 7 wins to make the play. Now, I can guarantee you next year it's going to be a lot tougher because you know what? The Cowboys are going to draft some defensive players. And so are the Giants, are going to go out. They're going to get themselves a receiver, and they'll probably get themselves a tight end, and they'll get rid of the schmuck Evan Ingram. Who, the fact that he made the Pro Bowl, and I'm a Giants fan saying this, okay? Evan Ingram in the Pro Bowl is a freaking disgrace. That guy is the most gutless, useless piece of shit that I have ever seen play on a Giant uniform. He is horrible. He is a disgrace to tight ends on the Giants. I watch Mark Bavaro play. I watch Jeremy Shockey play. And I've seen a few other pretty good tight ends on this team. Even guys that weren't that good that went out there and played the game the way they were supposed to play and played hard. This guy is a stiff. He is an absolute stiff. His stupid play yesterday caused Danny Jones's interception, and it almost changed the whole game around. And it goes on with him every week. Every week he's dropping balls. So you know what? Had he caught the ball against the Eagles, the Giants would be in the playoffs this weekend. They'd be the
Brad, you're picking 11th, and a guy maybe you should look up online is a tight end out of Florida named Kyle Pitts. He's from my neck of the woods up here in Bucks County. He went to Archbishop Wood. He's gonna be a first-round tight end. I know that he's a really good receiver.
Can he block though?
He can block better. I bet you he can block better than Evan Ingram.
You can block better than him.
I'm just saying he's a guy that'll probably be there at the 11th pick in the draft. That maybe you guys can.
He gets run over. He should be moved to wide receiver, and he should be like and as a wide receiver, he'd be a wide receiver 3 on a good team. I've so had it with him, and I'm sure any Giant fan will tell you he is a piece of shit. And I don't want that guy on the team anymore. And that's a lot for me to call one of my players who made the Pro Bowl a piece of shit. But that's exactly what he is. I want him.
Do it all the time.
Huh?
No one roasts there's no New York fan in the whole universe that roasts New York athletes. So you roast New York. What do you mean? You say it all the time.
But they deserve it. I'm going to tell you. Okay, I don't sit here and say.
Look up Kyle Pitts. Look up Kyle Pitts. I think you'll like him. That would be a good fit for the Giants there at pick 11. And then Gongos 951 checking in on the 2. Remember the decision you two flipped out on me for saying I was worried about our cap situation. Yeah, the cap is not something like before the season. We all thought the Eagles and the Cowboys were going to fight it out for the division title. I'm not worried about the cap situation for the offseason 3 years down the line before I'm starting to try and win a Super Bowl, starting to try and win a division championship. Now it's bad. It's gone to shit here in Philadelphia, and we have no money to sign players, and everybody's old.
The East this year when it was completely upside down from last year. Last year it was I believe it was the Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, and Redskins, and the football team. This year it was the football team, the Giants, the Cowboys, and the Eagles. And by the way, the Dallas Cowboys. I got to tell you something, Rob. I know that Zeke was hurt yesterday, but when the Giants stopped them on that last drive and they had the ball first down on their own 20-yard line, okay, and the whole world knew the Giants were going to run the ball 3 times, okay, and then kick it back to them and let them try to drive, in a minute down the field and score a touchdown. For the New York Giants offensive line to just knock the Cowboys defensive line back and knock them silly and run for the first down and be able to run out the clock, that is a disgrace because I don't think any other team in the league has let the Giants do that at the end of a game. The Giants always kick the ball back and then you pray that their defense can hold because you know what the situation's been with them as far as running the football. During the game they're fine, but as soon as it comes to having to do it, they can never do it. But yesterday they did, and that just tells you just how bad the Cowboys are. And no doubt they will be picking.
Cowboys were hard.
They
you know what? I think if they picked a defensive guy instead of CeeDee Lamb, and CeeDee Lamb, he was pretty good.
CeeDee Lamb, but their defense is terrible.
I think they would have won the division despite Dak's injury.
I don't know. You know what?
Can't tell me that Dallas wouldn't have walked away with the East if Dak Prescott didn't break his ankle.
They would have.
You can't tell me they wouldn't have gotten 8 wins. What's that? 3 extra wins with Dak Prescott.
Prescott didn't tear his ACL. He dislocated his ankle.
Yeah, so Dak Prescott, he's more than likely going to come back fine. And
he may not be quite as mobile as he was before, but Dak Prescott really, really picked up his level of play the last couple of years. He really.
And then don't forget, Andy Dalton got a concussion from that cheap shot against
Washington.
Was it against Washington? And they had to start Ben DiNucci,
and
Garrett Gilbert in consecutive weeks.
Yeah,
so
against the Eagles and then against Pittsburgh.
But to put a lid on this discussion, the Washington football team, they win the East. Ron Rivera's first year. Alex Smith comes back. Ron Rivera beats cancer. They win the East. Congratulations. You're a 6-win division champion. You get to host Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Brad, this is the Rob Brinkman. This is the Rob Brinkman hammer play of Super Wildcard Weekend. I think the spread is up to -8. I love Tampa Bay in this game. Look, what I saw from Alex Smith against the Eagles was not a healthy Alex Smith. His calf is clearly troublesome. Terry McLaurin, he's not healthy either. I mean,
I give him a lot of credit for being out there. I mean, he looked like he could barely move, but he's
a tremendous football player.
Yeah, and he's a gutty guy to go out there with a high ankle sprain.
He's the kind of guy you want.
Man, oh man, that guy
in your locker room.
And you know what? I mean, great too.
I look at those two guys being banged up. And Alex Smith, I mean, he's not that good anymore to begin with. He's not the Alex Smith that was in 2015 with the Chiefs or with the Niners back in the day.
But he's a significant upgrade over Dwayne Haskins, though.
Well, I agree with that. But my point being is Tom Brady is cooking.
Oh, yeah. I mean, right now.
Tom Brady is absolutely cooking right now. He's on the same page with Chris Godwin. He's on the same page with Antonio Brown. He's obviously on the same page with Rob Gronkowski. They can run the football with either Ronald Jones or Leonard Fournette. Their defense has been for real all season long. That's one of the reasons that I like Tampa so much. Offense aside, their defense is hilarious. It's going to be hilarious when Washington beats Tampa. Washington is not going to beat Tampa. They're not. Every other underdog, I give them a puncher. Cleveland, I don't see it happening, but I give them a puncher's chance. Chicago, I don't see it happening, but I give them a puncher's chance. Indianapolis, I don't see it happening. I give them a puncher's chance. The Washington football team is not beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They're going to get smoked.
It's really going to get out of hand.
I just hope Alex Smith doesn't get hurt again because I don't see how they're going to protect him.
Bob Brinkman says it's going to be Brady versus Rodgers in the NFC Championship game. Rodgers comes out ahead. I think that they're going to – well, that would mean that –
That would mean that they're going to go to Tampa Bay. That Tampa Bay is going to go to New Orleans and win. I don't know about that.
Well, no, because
New Orleans.
Who's the 2 seed? Who's the 2 seed in the New Orleans is the 2 seed.
Seattle, I think, is the 3 seed.
Well, you have to see who wins, I guess, Bob, because if
Seattle
beats the Rams and Tampa beats Washington, then that's going to be a divisional matchup. The Packers and the Tampa, right?
Yeah, and that's going to be in Lambeau Field. I just don't know how they're going to.
I wouldn't count Tampa Bay out of that game. I don't think they'd win.
It's going to be tough.
It would be tough, but it's not a.
They match up well against Green Bay. I think they match up better than New Orleans does, quite honestly, because you know what? You got guys like Brady and Gronkowski who played plenty of games in the snow and are good bad weather players. I don't know about Drew Brees and the Saints going into Green Bay. That's not really a bad weather team, unless they get lucky and it's 40 degrees and not snowing or raining and it's a nice day. it's going to be tough. But I think the Saints are going to spank the Bears. That's going to be
Saints Bears. I mean, it's the line. We'll get the early leans in a little bit here, but the Saints, they're not losing to the Bears. Whether you like the Bears to cover the 10 or the Saints to blow them out, whatever. I haven't really dove into that part of it. But
but the games in the Superdome, there's no way
Mitchell Trubisky is not beating that defense. The Saints defense is really good.
Yeah, exactly. Now, and don't forget, Lattimore is going to be guarding Robinson. So, I mean, the Bears are going to have to find offense somewhere else. And where is that going to be?
David Montgomery, he's been running the ball, pretty decently. But,
the Saints aren't easy to run against, though. They
have a tremendous defense. They have a tremendous team. The Bears aren't beating them.
No. So you're gonna. So again, if Tampa Bay has to go to Green Bay, I think that they've got a better chance of beating Green Bay than they do beating New Orleans. Okay, but at the same time, I think Green Bay has a better chance to beat New Orleans than Tampa Bay does.
Now we've been oohing and ahhing and gushing over these favorites. There's no way 6 favorites are winning. One of these dogs is going to step up and win outright. And Brad, I keep looking at it. I think it's going to be the Rams.
Yeah, I think the Rams are going to be the ones, and I think this situation right now with Jamal Adams has got to be very alarming to the Seattle Seahawks. If he's really hurt, even if he plays, if he plays and he's not 100%, Jamal Adams needs to be at 100% because he's one of those guys. Not only is he a great player, but that motor, the way that motor runs for him, he's always buzzing around all over the place. If he can't be that kind of a player, I don't know how effective he's going to be. He's one of those high energy type players, in addition to being extremely talented. As a safety, he's the best in the business. They don't have him. That's a killer loss.
The Rams, they have a serious question mark at quarterback. Jared Goff broke his thumb in the Week 16 game against the Seahawks. He had to miss against the Cardinals. The backup there, he played okay. Their Cardinals folded like a tent, and the Rams are in the playoffs. They get a wild card. But, let's be honest, I'm looking at the Seahawks. I'm not even looking at the Seahawks. They're running nothing.
The Cardinals lost their quarterback in the first quarter, though. The Cardinals were playing with a backup quarterback as well.
I don't know.
Of all the teams, of all the underdogs, I like the Rams out of all the underdogs. I think that's
maybe 6 favorites will win. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't see that.
So.
And you have, I don't know. I guess the Rams have to be, by default, the Rams would have to be my upset pick. And that's a good question. Ted P, is Goff playing? I don't know. JP McPherson, he thinks the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl.
No, I don't think that. I think that's a pretty good pick. Yeah, I think it's going to be the Bills and the Packers.
Bob Brinkman, the Bucs won't face the Pack until the championship game. Maybe Bob has the Bears winning or something crazy.
Somebody behind them is going to have to pull the upset.
The 7th seed is the Bears. The 6th seed is
the Rams. The 6th seed or the 5th?
Rams are the 6th seed. So if the Rams win,
Seattle, then
if the Rams win, the Rams would play Green Bay. So yeah, I guess. Yeah.
That can happen. If form holds, when the favorites all win, then you're going to have Tampa Bay playing in Green Bay.
JP McPherson, that's maybe the Titans could win. That's my honorable mention, because I think the Titans have a better chance to beat the Ravens than the Browns do to beat the Steelers or the Colts do to beat the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, usually, for the most part, wild card weekend, usually the favorites do win.
Yeah.
For the most part, they do.
All right, let's go through the bracket then. All right, let's get some game pay. No spread, just straight up.
Okay.
So let me get the schedule. Let me get the schedule up here. Go through it chronologically. Get my Sports Insight app. So the first game, 1:05 on Saturday, Indianapolis goes to Buffalo.
I think that's Buffalo in a rout.
Buffalo, so that's 2-seed Buffalo advances.
I'm saying 34-17 Buffalo.
Okay, then the Rams play the Seahawks at 4:40 on Saturday.
I reserve the right to change my mind depending on who's playing and
It's only Monday. They're just
right now. I'm going to assume that Goff is playing, and I'm going to assume Adams is not, and I'm going to go with the Rams.
I think I agree. So that's 5-seed NFC. I'm sorry, 6-seed NFC advances. Tampa Bay, Washington. Tampa Bay's 40 to 3. 40 to 3.
Yeah, it could be.
Tampa Bay wins.
It could be that bad.
This is going to be ugly for the Washington football team.
Yeah, like 42 to 7, something like that.
Yeah, that's 5-seed NFC advances. So we're unanimous. We're unanimous. We agree wholeheartedly so far. Sunday, 1:05, Baltimore, Tennessee. I guess the Ravens.
I can't see the Ravens losing this game for the reasons I outlined before. Tennessee's defense is not as good as it was last year, and the Ravens have a little bit more offensive firepower this year than they did last year. It won't all be on Lamar to do it all by himself. He's got lots of help.
And home dog. I
know he's.
I love my home dogs. Hey, you look at it. I got a home dog, 2 home dogs staring at me right in the face. In Washington and Tennessee, and Washington has 0% chance. I'm going to reluctantly pick Baltimore. I think that this Baltimore Tennessee game is going to be a lot closer than people think.
You know what? I think it could be a 38-35 kind of game. I could see that.
Baltimore's defense, they just hit you in the mouth too.
Yeah, but you know what? Cleveland got 40 against them.
I can't pick it. I got to pick Baltimore. Chicago, New Orleans, I think we're pretty united. We're Saints.
Yeah, I think New Orleans is gonna beat them up.
So Cleveland and Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh.
I'm gonna take Cleveland, and I'll tell you why. Okay, Pittsburgh has not been playing well, and it just seems to me that with all the injuries and them they just seem like a stale team. I know they woke up and beat Baltimore the other week.
The Colts,
24 to
Indianapolis.
Right, the Indianapolis Colts. They came back and beat them and beat them. But you know what? I think maybe Cleveland can stop that offense and score enough to beat. That could be the upset right there. That could be the one. I mean, I think that they've got a better chance to beat Pittsburgh than the Titans do to beat the Ravens, just based on how the teams have been playing and the trends. Pittsburgh has not been playing well. Let's be honest; they've been pretty bad lately.
No, they've played a half a good football against the Colts, and that got them a win.
I know the Browns lost to the Jets. I get that, but they didn't have. They had 4 receivers that couldn't play that were on COVID. Now they still should have won the game, but that's still a lot. And you know, the Jets were due to win a couple of games. I mean, you know, they just were. And you know, they were due.
All right. Well, we'll have some fun. We'll advance. The Sports Hounds bracket. We'll advance the Browns.
Let's just give the Browns. Let's give the Browns some love. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to win a game up there. But you know what? Pittsburgh's been going the wrong way, and the Browns have been playing better lately. And I'm throwing out the game against the Jets because they had 4 guys with COVID, 4 receivers, and they had nobody to throw the ball to.
So then that brings us in the AFC, the showdown, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs against the Baltimore Ravens.
I think the Ravens are going to pull the upset.
Well, I'm sorry. Hold on.
No, it's going to be the Browns.
It would be the Chiefs and the Browns. So the Browns, I mean, obviously the Chiefs will win that.
The Chiefs will pound the Browns.
And then you have the Buffalo Bills against the Ravens.
I think the Bills are going to beat them. I think the Bills are just a more well-rounded team.
So that it's the Bills and the Chiefs, and I would favor the Bills.
I would favor the Bills too.
So we have the Bills in the AFC. Then we had the 6-seeded Rams winning. They're going to Lambeau. They're going to Lambeau to lose. So Green Bay goes to the NFC Championship.
Now, are they going to play the Saints or are they going to play Tampa Bay? Saints going to beat them 3 times? It's not easy to beat a team 3 times in a row.
Yeah, I hear that bullshit all the time, but they've already done it twice.
But yeah, I was gonna say it's. I keep hearing that bullshit, but the only time I actually remember a team winning both games during the season and then losing a playoff game, the only team I can remember ever doing that was the Giants against Dallas and Kansas City against Oakland back in when was it in 1970. So I mean those are really the only 2 times I can ever remember that happening. So because every other time, I mean, if you remember when the Giants played the Eagles in 2000, Giants beat them twice during the season, and then they beat them again in the championship game. I mean, usually when you beat them twice, you beat them 3 times. I mean, there's a reason why you lost both those games. Especially,
and the Saints just don't match up.
And no, you mean the Tampa Bay does not match up against the Saints for whatever reason.
Right.
They're just too physical for that. I mean, it's usually, when both sides of the line are dominated, it's very hard to adjust to that. That's a problem. I don't know how Tampa Bay is going to fix that. I mean, they didn't just lose those games; they got hammered,
big time.
Yeah, they were hammered in both games. What's going to change that's going to have them go in and win that game?
Maybe that Brady championship mentality
perhaps
shows up.
Perhaps. I think Brady has a better chance to beat Green Bay than he does New Orleans. I just think
I agree with that.
But I don't think New Orleans could go into Green Bay and win. I think Tampa Bay could go into Green Bay and win because
I totally agree with that too. The best scenario. The Bucs really need Seattle to take care of business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
Because Tampa could go to Green Bay and win.
Yeah, I don't think they can go to New Orleans.
Tampa's not going to New Orleans to win. And then I agree with you that New Orleans isn't going to Lambeau and win it.
No.
All that being said, it seems like we're at a Green Bay Buffalo Super Bowl.
Yeah, based on
which has been mentioned by a few people in the comments.
And that would be one hell of a Super Bowl.
I think Bob Brinkman was right. I mean, I think Green Bay is going to win.
Yeah.
Buffalo wins, but I think Green Bay is going to win. All right, let's do some early leans before we get out of here. We'll look at way too early against the spread preview. Look at all the games against the spread. We'll look at the over-unders. Try and give you some point in the right direction. It's only Monday. We can't lock in these bets yet. Some people do it.
Who's playing and who's not playing, so it's little.
Some people do it. Some people do like to do it to lock in the number. I've never been that kind of guy.
No, you know what the thing is though. You kind of like to wait and see what's going on because you know what,
Especially with COVID.
70% of the time the public's wrong. So when the line starts moving sharply in one way, you go the other way. So
the first game up is Indianapolis and Buffalo. Buffalo is at home. I have Buffalo at a 6.5-point favorite. I think Buffalo wins this game by a touchdown.
Yeah, I think they'll cover that.
We have the over-under at 52.5. I kind of like the under there. I think that's too high.
Yeah, no, I think the over. I think it's going to be over that.
Okay.
I think you're going to see like 40, maybe 41-17, 41-20, something like that.
Do you think the Bills are going to put up 40 on?
Yes, I do.
All right, so you got a demolition of the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, I don't like the Colts at all.
I mean, the Rams are going to Seattle. Seattle's a 4.5-point favorite right now.
I take the Rams and the points.
I'll take the 4.5. I'll take the 4.5. I don't know what it is. Something's missing in Seattle. Something's missing. They're too Russell Wilson reliant.
Yeah, if Seattle does win the game, it's going to be a real close game. Rams have a real good defense.
They do. They have Ramsey and Donald, and then their supporting cast. They get it done. I mean, 4.5.
Jalen Ramsey is one of the best in the business. You know that he's going to be out there against Metcalf. So that's going to be an interesting battle. I don't think Metcalf will get his catches, but he's not going to be a dominant force.
Tampa Bay, and then the over/under in that game is 42.5. Extremely low.
I take the under.
I guess, yeah. I mean, the number being that low is kind of telling.
Yeah, that's going to be a low scoring game. That's 42 is really low. 42 is really low, though. I mean, if you think about it, like 24-21. I mean, the game would have to be would literally have to be in the teens to win that bet. I don't think it. You know what? I would go with the over.
Really low, especially in today's NFL.
Yeah, I mean that's a little low. I would go over.
Tampa Bay and Washington. Tampa Bay is an 8-point favorite. The over/under is 46.5. I think Tampa Bay goes over the 46.5 by themselves. Not really, but I mean, I'm looking like 38-10, 40-10, 38-3, something like that. So I guess
Redskins. I don't think the football team is going to have a hard time scoring.
So I guess I'm going Tampa and the under there.
Yeah, if they get more than 13 points, I'd be very surprised. So you're asking Tampa Bay to do all the work, and I don't know if they're going to do all the work. That's it. I mean, I could see 30-13, something like that, 31-13. I mean, the Redskins
aren't good. The Washington football team, they're not good.
Yeah, but they have a good defense, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay.
They can get to the quarterback. I'm not sure I really like their secondary. I think their secondary is pretty bad, but they've got one hell of a front four.
They do, and Brady struggles with pressure, but I mean, I'm just not buying.
No, I mean, I don't see how they're.
Tampa's way too good for them. Way too good.
And Brady, one thing about Brady, he's smart enough that if the offensive line can't keep Washington out, they'll just get rid of the ball quickly. That's all. They'll throw the ball to the outside. They'll take advantage of the fact that their linebackers aren't very good, and that's how they'll win the game. They'll just get rid of the ball.
Baltimore and Tennessee. Tennessee is a home dog, plus 3.5. The over/under is 55.
If it's plus,
I'm gonna take the hook here. I'm gonna take the Titans plus 3.5, and I'm gonna take the over.
I like the 3.5 too. I think the Ravens win by 3. I think if you get the half a point, I think then you go with the Ravens. I think that's the key. Is does that line go down to 2.5, or does it go up, or does it get to 3.5 and stay at 3.5? If you can lock in at 3.5, I think you got yourself a winner there.
I thought I was going to have clarity on these games as we talked it out, and read the comments and did the show, but
Yeah, I feel pretty good.
now I'm even more confused than I was when I started.
Listen, it could be real easy, Rob. The easy way out would be to sit here and say, "Oh, I'll take the Chiefs and the Packers." Yeah, pick the.
I'm just talking about the wild card, the super wild card weekend.
Anybody could do that. Wild card weekend. I mean, listen, you have to think about. There's going to be an upset or two. You have to figure out where they might come from. I love the Ravens, but could they lose the game? Yeah, they could. I think Pittsburgh could lose too.
You threw me for a loop when you picked the Browns to beat the Steelers.
The Steelers have been terrible the last few weeks. If you remember, they got smoked by Washington. The Bills humiliated them. They lost another game, which I can't remember who was against. They almost lost to Baltimore.
Well, they lost to Washington.
Yeah, they got killed by.
They almost lost to Baltimore when everyone had COVID.
They barely beat Baltimore when RG3 was playing quarterback. Okay, they're not playing good football at all. It just they seem to be too banged up right now. I wouldn't trust them in the playoffs. And you know what? I think we haven't seen Cleveland's best yet.
So you like Cleveland plus 4.5?
Yes, I do. 4.5. I think 4.5 is enough.
46.5 is the total in that game.
I think that's an under.
I think that's an under too.
Yeah,
I like that. That have all the over unders under 46.5. That's my favorite over under.
That should be an easy one because you're not going to get 27-24. That's going to be a low scoring game.
Sunday 4:40. Chicago goes to the Superdome. I mean, I'll lay the lumber with the Saints. The Saints are -10. The over/under is at 48.
Yeah,
that feels like another under.
27-10, New Orleans. I respect the Bears' defense. I think they'll keep it reasonable, but it's like a 27-10 game. I see the Saints winning by like around 17 points and not giving up very much at all defensively. And what did you say the over/under was that game?
48. Hold on, it just went away. Let me get it back up.
48, I would take the under in that game too.
It's another under I really like.
Yeah, I like the under in that game.
I like that under a lot.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be playing the under in the Saints and Chicago game and the under in the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game.
Yeah, and you know what? Usually, a lot of times this time of year, you get bad weather in Pittsburgh, so that could even be a better reason why it's going to be an under.
All right. That is the Sports Hounds NFL playoff preview. The Sports Hounds consensus bracket has the Green Bay Packers winning the Super Bowl over the Buffalo Bills. At least I have the Packers over the Bills. Brad, both of our preseason selections are live as well. I had Seattle over Tennessee, and I believe you had the Saints over the Chiefs.
Yes.
At the beginning of the season. So both those, we give ourselves a pat on the back for having two live predictions.
I have the one seed. I have the 1 seed and the 2. I picked the 1 seed and the 2 seed. So that's not too bad. We'll see in the playoffs. I mean, anything can happen once the playoffs start.
But it sounds like I like the Packers over the Bills, and you like the Bills over the Packers.
Pretty much. I'm gonna stake my wagon to Allen the way he's been playing, to Josh Allen. I'm gonna go with him, and we'll see how far you can take him. I think he can take them to the promised land this year. They're that good.
All right, enjoy Super Wild Card Weekend. 3 games Saturday, 3 games Sunday. We'll be back with you next Monday to digest it all, preview the division round, talk some NBA. Who knows what's going to pop up in the week that has on the national sports scene here on A2 Radio. He's Brad.
Hockey starts.
Hockey next week. Maybe we'll reach into our bag of guests and pull something out. We'll see. We'll let you know. Stay tuned to the social media. Be sure to follow A2D New York, A2D Texas, A2D Florida, and A2D Los Angeles. Like, follow, share, subscribe. You know what to do. Tell the world the takeover is real. 2021 is going to be the year of A2D Radio. Stay tuned for all the breaking news. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman. We are the Sports Hounds. Until next Monday, peace out, everybody.